we recommend that you remain on for the entire tour. That way you can see what we have to offer, decide what you want to do, and then figure out which stops best meet your needs. A little word of warning, Hippolytus Street is closed. You cannot use stop number 3. We can't get there, so don't stand there waiting on us for a ride, because you'll be standing for a while. 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yes, the wood nickels. Those are good for a couple things. You can either take them into Gator Bob's and trade them in for a free postcard, or you can keep them as a souvenir. I don't recommend using this coaster stuff, because they get wet, they curl up. Okay, now we're out of here. Okay, for your safety and convenience, we ask that you please refrain from smoking or consuming alcohol while on board the trolley. Please remain seated while the trolley is in motion, and please keep all body parts inside the trolley. We go down some real narrow streets. Also, please keep in mind that this is a narrated tour. Not everyone has taken the tour yet. If we could keep conversation, including cell phone conversation, to a quiet minimum, it would be appreciated. And last but not least, please do not attempt to enter or exit the trolleys anywhere but at the designated stops. Or at least warn me first. Okay, vote time. Who wants to go to the beach?
Sam?
Double check, make sure it's
all right.
sand.
I think we're off. Who's going to explain to Bob Henderson why we're stuck in the sand? Oh, no, that's not on. I thought it was closed. I got confused, Bob. All right, well, once again, my name is Kristen, and I'd like to welcome you to St. Augustine, Florida. What you're going to see during your tour today is a collection of colonial, Spanish, Victorian, and Flagler era buildings and sites that pay tribute to those who made us what we are today. But in order to appreciate these things or to even understand them, you need to know what we are. You need to know how we got here. Despite what your history books and your history teachers might have told you, Jamestown and Plymouth Rock were not the first settlements here. We were. St. Augustine is the oldest continuously occupied European settlement in the nation. For over 400 years, we've had to battle against pirates, Indians, disease, hunger, fire, and the elements just to survive. But how did we get here? Kind of a long story, but basically it all started back in 1513 with a gentleman by the name of Juan Ponce de Leon. Juan came here looking for silver, gold, and the fountain of youth. But Juan was a little confused because we don't have silver and gold. We have snakes and alligators. He landed in the springtime on Easter weekend, to be exact, and what he did find were beautiful flowers blooming everywhere. And so on March 27, 1513, Easter Sunday that year, Juan named the land Pascua Floridia, meaning Feast of Flowers at Easter time. Juan, however, cannot take credit for discovering Florida because he was met by over 100,000 Native Americans when he got here. He can only take credit for claiming the land for the King of Spain, who at that time was Philip. Over the next 50 years, Spain sent at least 6 different expeditions over here trying to establish a successful Spanish colony, but for one reason or another, they all failed. The first truly successful people to settle here were the French. They landed in 1564, but they didn't land right here in St. Augustine. They actually landed about 40 miles north of here and called their territory Fort Caroline. You probably know it better by its current name of Jacksonville, Florida. Well, the Catholics and the Protestants, they didn't exactly get along back then, so needless to say, when the Catholic King of Spain found out that there were French Protestants living on his land, no way was this going to work. He contacted his good buddy, Pedro Menendez de Avalos, who just so happened to be the top admiral of the Navy at the time, and he told him, "Hey Pedro, I need you to get over to Florida and clear up a few problems for me." He said, "First of all, I don't care how you do it, just get the French Protestants off my property at any cost. Second, it's been 50 years. This is starting to get a little embarrassing. You think you could try to establish a successful Spanish colony for me? And last but not least, while you're there, Christianize the Native Americans." Well, a little heads up about old Pedro Menendez de Avalos. He was violent. Anything involving even the hint of blood automatically got his vote. He arrived here on September 8, 1565 with about 1,000 soldiers in tow, and he named the land St. Augustine to honor a Roman Catholic saint named Augustine. He then took his troops and marched them through a hurricane up to Fort Caroline, where in 2 days they took over the territory. During that same hurricane, however, the French Navy was attempting to attack St. Augustine, but they had crash-landed south of here. They got off their boat and started marching north towards the town. Well, when Pedro got wind of this, he grabbed his troops. They came hightailing it down here. He caught up with the French and he asked them one question. Pardon me, but do you have any Grey Poupon? We did there. He said, are you Catholic? They said, no, we're French Protestants. He said, well, do you want to be Catholic? Some said yes, some said no. Didn't matter what their answer was, because in the end he treated them all the same. Took every single one of them behind the sand dunes, he slit their throats, and he threw them in the bay. Water ran red for a week, and that's where we get the name Matanzas Bay. Matanzas means slaughter or massacre in Spanish. Don't worry though, because the Protestants, they got their revenge. About 21 years later, in the form of an English Protestant named Sir Francis Drake. 1586, Drake and his troops marched into town, and the first thing they did, they burnt the whole town to the ground, chased everyone out into the swamps, and they became what we call gator bait. In which case the Great Blue Pond would have come in handy, huh? Over there to your right, this is the Huguenot Cemetery. Huguenot means Protestant in French, so who's buried there? Yeah, very good. Dead French Protestant. That dead part is important. This cemetery was built in 1821 and began to accept its residents immediately. The yellow fever epidemic had come to St. Augustine, and people were dying left and right. They were dying faster than we could dig the graves. So what did we do? We stacked 20, 30 people in each grave. First condo complex in the United States. We also buried people alive back then. Not on purpose, but things happen. So Mr. Bateson, he invented the Bateson belfry. It was a string that ran through a tube into your casket. They'd tie one end around your finger or your wrist. The other end had a bell that sat in a holder on top of your tombstone. Should you wake up and figure out that you've been buried alive, you wiggled, the bell rang, they dug you up, and you lived happily ever after till you died again. Don't laugh. Families used to hire people to sit for up to 2 months next to the tombstone in case the bell rang. It's where the concept of having a wake at the funeral originated from, because the bell babysitters were waiting to see if you were going to wake up or not. It's originally a British custom. Okay, now up ahead. That way, straight ahead. Now, that is the Talamato Cemetery. This was built over the site of the original Talamato Indian Village. It later became the Menorcan Cemetery, and later still the Catholic Cemetery. This is the oldest Catholic cemetery that we have in existence. And next is the oldest drugstore. Now back then, you did not need a prescription for anything. A 10-year-old could have walked in here and told the pharmacist to his PW's bicycle, I don't feel good, give me some medicine. And he'd give the kid something called Flagler. If he tried it today, he'd go to jail. It was a mixture of water, grain alcohol, and opium. And this is stop number 5, the oldest drugstore. We'll see you guys. Have fun. Hi, Andy. Hey, you got any spare motors or anything laying around? Maybe give me a little extra wattage here. Isn't quite cutting it. That'll work. Yeah, could you call the city and ask them if they'll crack the hydrants for me? A little annoyed, so we built a wall around the city. This was a small fort that was built within that wall. It acted as a lookout, protected the Rosario and the Cubo lines. These square holes that you see are where the cannons would have sat. This was manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When an attack came, half of the soldiers stayed here and fought off the enemy. The other half ran down to the main fort. Number 1, to let them know the attack was occurring. Number 2, to gather reinforcements. The general idea was you wanted to keep your enemies and your battles outside of your city walls. Look through that window. See the tombstone? That's the chief of the Talamato Indians' tombstone. That's his gravesite, actually. But now that you have a wall around your city, you need a way in and out. So what do? You built some city gates. Those city gates were built in 1739. They were made out of wood. In 1808, they reconstructed them and made them out of coquina. Up ahead to your left, those square pillars that you see, those are the city gates. Now these things were no joke either. They had a drawbridge and a gate. At sundown, that bridge came up, that gate slammed shut. If you didn't get back here by sundown, too bad. You were stuck outside all night till the next morning. And our next stop is stop number 6, which are the city gates and the south end of St. George Street. We'll see, watch your step kick now, please. Learn something new every day. Narcos. This is our biggest claim to fame. It's also a lie. 600 pounds of styrofoam. Cut it out, glued it together, painted it brown and gray, called it a fort, put it down here by the water, made up a neat little history for it. We figured it was a really good way to get people to come to our town and check out our fort and spend their money. You're here, it worked. Anyone from Pittsburgh? No? Be surprised how quickly they'll fall for something. Okay. Hey. Oh, nice look in there. Yeah, glad he stopped. All right, actually the fort is made up out of over 400,000 blocks of coquina. The coquina was mined over on Anastasia Island and then brought by barge to this site. If you look at the guard tower, that dome structure up on top in the front there, it looks like there's red paint on it. There was. In the front of the fort, that's not white paint, that's stucco. The fort used to be red and white. Why? Bingo, to match the Spanish flag that flew over. Still flies over it today. They started building the fort on October 2nd, 1672. Took them 23 years to finish it, but it has never been taken in battle. And despite the fact that it sits on U.S. soil, Spain retains majority year ownership of that fort. We currently own it. We must continue to own it until the year 2055, just to catch up with them. Don't forget, they built it. They had it for 198 years. The British came in, took over. They only had it for a few years before Spain recaptured it. So Spanish had a pretty good head start on everybody. And keep an eye out on the waters today throughout your travels, because the French had originally named our bay the Bay of Dolphins. Much nicer sounding name. But we see them out here on a pretty regular basis, especially during high tide. So keep an eye out. And our next stop will be stop number 2, which is the Monterey Inn. If you're exiting the trolley at this stop, please do so only to your right, and please watch your step. And this is stop number 2, the Monterey Inn. Now, normally we would turn down High Quality Street, but we can't. So I still want to point it out because it says a little bit about the architecture and the planning of our city. You see how narrow the road is? That served 2 purposes. Number 1, it was outdoor air conditioning. The idea was the breeze would come in off the water, funnel down the narrow streets into the town and cool it off. The second purpose was protection. When you have streets this narrow, there's no way a large number of troops are going to come marching into your town and take over. They'd have to split up amongst the different streets, and we just pick them off one at a time as they came in. And contrary to popular belief, all the balconies and the second stories that you see on the buildings, those are British influence, not Spanish. Okay, but I'm going to show you a street that's even more narrow than High Paulina, and it was built that way for protection also. Treasury Street. What was on Treasury Street? You got it. It was 6 feet 1 inches wide. They figured that way nobody was going to be able to get their horse and buggy down there, rob the treasury, turn around and escape. Well, unlike my great Fort Clan, it didn't work because they got robbed at least 6 times. Over here on your right, this is Treasury Street. Of course, it's only appropriate that our streets were little because, guess what? Back then, so were the people. You look up ahead, that statue that you see, this is a life-size statue of Juan Ponce de Leon. That poor man, he was only 4'11". Even worse, he was the tallest man on a ship. But next is the Cathedral Basilica. Basilica is an honor that is bestowed upon a church by the Pope for its historical significance. There are 25 basilicas in the United States. 2 of them are here in Florida, the other one is down in Miami. This is the oldest Catholic congregation in the United States. It was founded about 1594, 1595. In 1877, the church burned down, and a gentleman by the name of Henry Flagler donated money to the Catholics so that they could rebuild their church. Over here to your right, the Cathedral Basilica, and this is stop number 7, the Cathedral Basilica, and the south end is St. George Street. If exiting, please do so on the shoe line. We'll see you. Watch your steps. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll see you. Okay, now Henry Flagler. He was born the son of a Presbyterian minister up in Hopewell, New York on January 2nd, 1830. So no, he didn't have a lot of money. He amassed his fortunes through his association with John D. Rockefeller. The 2 of them discovered the Standard Oil Corporation, which we know better today as Mobil and Exxon. So now Henry had a couple dollars. Then Henry developed the Florida East Coast Railway System. So now Henry had a whole lot of dollars. He came down here on his honeymoon back in 1883. He immediately recognized the potential that our town had as a resort community. He returned in 1885 to build a couple hotels. One of the hotels that he built is over here to your left. This is what was once the world-famous Ponce de Leon Hotel. Now, I'll talk more about that one in just a minute, but the other hotel that Henry was building This one was causing him a little bit of a headache. You see, he wanted it built on a specific piece of property, but there was already a building there. Now, normally that's no big deal. You tear down Burger King, you put up McDonald's, but this was Methodist Church. You can't just tear down someone's church and put up a hotel, at least not without asking first, so that's what Henry did. He grabs a couple of his whole lot of new dollars, he goes to the Methodist congregation, and he says, hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll buy that piece of property from you, and then I'll build you a new church anywhere you want. Methodist congregation thinks about this for like 3 seconds. They agree it's something that they'll benefit from in the long run, and Henry then spends $4,000 on the piece of property and $84,000 building the Methodist their new church. Over here to your right, Grace United Methodist Church, the church that Henry Flagler built for the Methodists. Now this is, most of the churches in town are open all day, unless there's a service or something. This one is done on a volunteer basis. When they open for tours, they'll put a sign on the door saying, accepting guests or accepting visitors. If you come through and you see the sign up and you want to see this church, go. You might come back in an hour and it won't be there. So, but this is stop number 8, Grace United Methodist Church. Okay, so now tragedy strikes. No, it doesn't. My fault. I skipped ahead. Now the Baptists here that Henry Flagler's giving away churches. They're like, Henry, come on, it's our turn. We want one too. You gave one to the Methodists, one to the Catholics. Now it's the Baptist turn. Henry says, no, it's not. That's not how it's going to work. He says, but I'll make you a deal. I'll donate the piece of property for your church if you can come up with the money to build your church within 2 years. If not, I get my piece of property back. The Baptists agree, they start saving their money, and 2 years later, they start construction on the first masonry construction site in St. Augustine, Ancient City Baptist Church up here on your right. There is no bell in that bell tower. There never has been, there never will be. Henry Flagler stipulated it that way. A couple things you need to understand about old Henry. Number 1, he lived 1 block away, and number 2, he was Presbyterian. Yeah, no Baptist bells for him. All right, my guy here in the front row with the heat something shirt on. You. Yeah, you. You got a job, okay? Remind me to show you something when we get up to A1A Aleworks. But over here, this parking lot, there used to be a hotel here called the Barcelona Hotel. That's where the team members for our minor league baseball team, the St. Augustine Saints, stayed. So I'll show you something about that hotel when we get up to the Aleworks, okay? But now tragedy strikes. Henry's beloved daughter, Jennifer Louise, she's pregnant, she gives birth, the baby dies. Jennifer Louise dies about 1 week later, and Henry is devastated. He decides he's going to build a church to memorialize the 2 of them, but here's the kicker. He wants it completed by the 1st anniversary of their death. This was 1889. We didn't have the machinery back then like we have today. He hired 1,000 workers. He paid them $1.50 a day. They worked 2 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 361 days later, they had built by hand over here to your right, Flagler Memorial Presbyterian Church. And this is a tour I highly recommend. This church is beautiful. It's fashioned after St. Mark's Cathedral over in Venice, Italy. It's shaped like a cross. The pews, actually all the woodwork inside is Santo Domingo mahogany. It is all hand carved. The pipe organ inside is the 2nd largest pipe organ in the United States. And the dome is 150 feet from the ground to the top of that sphere. Now the building itself took 1 year to build, but this is one of the few buildings in St. Augustine that does not contain Louis Comfort Tiffany stained glass. These windows in this building are a whole other story. These were commissioned to a German artist whose last name I cannot pronounce, but they were another 12 years in the making. And this is stop number 9. This is Flagler Memorial Presbyterian Church. Now there's a mausoleum inside the church that contains 4 vaults. One contains Henry Flagler, one contains his first wife Mary, one contains Jennifer Louise holding the infant baby in her arms. The other one is empty. Well, see, we believed it was for his son Harry, but him and Harry had a little falling out. Harry became estranged from the family. We have recent documentation that it was actually meant for one of his wives. Now, my personal theory, as wealthy as Henry was, he could be a little thrifty at times. So when he figured out that him and Harry weren't going to kiss and make up, he said, hey, rather than leave that thing sit empty, you put one of my wives in there. But he divorced his 2nd wife, and his 3rd wife remarried after his death, so it still sits empty today. And contrary to popular belief, Jenny did not die here in St. Augustine. She and her husband lived in New York, which is where she gave birth and which is where the baby died. The doctor decided she had a better chance of recovery down here in this climate. She actually died en route to St. Augustine on the family yacht, the Oneida. Does anyone know whatever happened to old Harry, the son? After the estrangement, he changed his last name from Flagler. He took on his mother's maiden name of Harkness. Harry Harkness founded the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra. Yeah, he did all right on his own. Now across the street to your left, that is what was once the world-famous Ponce de Leon Hotel. Now you see that smokestack? Henry offered his guests two things that were totally unheard of back in 1888, indoor plumbing and electricity. He called his buddy Tom and said, "Hey Tom, just built this really cool hotel down in St. Augustine. Come here and help me out a minute." Thomas Edison shows up. He builds Henry two generators. They put them in that smokestack and voila! Henry had electricity 30 years before anyone else. In fact, this was the first facility in the state of Florida to have electricity. Anyone here from Florida? Do you use FPL? Yeah, this is where it started. When they decided the rest of the city and eventually the state deserved electricity, they had to hook up to the generators that were in the hotel. The original generators are now in the Smithsonian Institute up in Washington, D.C. You look up on the balcony on the second floor there, see the palm trees? Those are sago palms. Those are the original palms, and believe it or not, they do support the structure. And the Ponce de Leon Hotel was the first massive structure in the United States to be made out of poured concrete. That was a totally new concept back in 1888 when they were first building this hotel. But if you look to your right, back in the far corner, you see that round rotunda with the windows in it? That served as the dining area to the hotel. It seated over 400 people, and each table had their own private waiter. It now serves as the dining area to Flagler College. It still seats over 400 people, but kids have to get their own food. But the interesting thing about that rotunda are the windows. Those are 64 Lewis Comfort Tiffany stained glass windows. Now the reason they have that kind of milky appearance to them, we had to cover them up with 1.5-inch thick bulletproof plexiglass. Why? It's a college. There's college kids in there. Those windows are worth over $30 billion. Yeah, we have over 79 Lewis Comfort Tiffany stained glass windows in the whole school. We have the largest singly owned collection of Lewis Comfort Tiffany stained glass in the entire world. And I have no idea what the total value is. But Flagler stipulated, should this cease to exist as a hotel, it must become an accredited college or run the chance of being torn down. In 1967, they decided it was no longer feasible to operate this as a hotel. It closed. It reopened in 1968 as Flagler College. Now, originally, this was an all-girls school. A few years after opening, it became co-ed, and I'm not sure what year, but it did become a fully accredited four-year liberal arts school. It's one of the least expensive in the United States. Runs you about $12,000 a year, including room and board. A little bit less if you're actually from the state of Florida. Some of the dorms are right here in what was once the hotel. And interestingly, back where I showed you the palm trees, across the street, that building, those are dorms. Those are the new ones, and when they built them, they offered these kids the opportunity to move over there because these ones didn't have air conditioning or anything. They said no. Stayed in the hotel. Now, when this operated as the Ponce de Leon Hotel, however, there was nothing cheap about it. It was a very formal, very elegant hotel. It was also only a seasonal hotel. He was only open from January through April, so when you came, you stayed the season. You may not necessarily stay the entire season, but you paid for the entire season. The equivalent of about $200 a night now. If you remember that piece of property that Henry wanted from the Methodists so bad, here to your left. This is what was once the Alcazar Hotel. Henry was building the Alcazar Hotel at the same time he was building the Ponce de Leon, because originally the Alcazar Hotel was only intended to serve as the overflow hotel in the park. He never mentioned this would be nearly as elegant, nearly as formal. It actually ended up becoming more popular. Number one, it was cheaper. Number two, no minimum stay required. Number three, the atmosphere was a lot more casual than over at the Ponce. And number four, he had a wide variety of activities for his guests to do while they were down here. The most famous was the swimming pool. He had the world's largest indoor swimming pool. Here on your left, this is one end of the pool. It was 120 feet long, 50 feet wide. It took up one full city block. Had a glass roof that spanned over that was 32 feet long. Now, if you have a chance, go in and take a look at it, because even though it's not a pool anymore, it's now shops in the Cafe Alcazar. All the original architecture is still in there. The steps that went down into the water, the arches that surrounded the pool, all of that is still there. A couple of the other activities he offered his guests, he had Turkish running baths, he had tea gardens, he had a silent movie theater, he had a bowling alley. This is where bicycling and tennis took off as recreational sports, and he had a ballroom. And our next stop will be stop number 10, which is Old St. Augustine Village. This was originally developed back in the 1940s by a man named Kenneth Dow. No Dow Jones or Dow Corporation or anything like that. He got his money through inheritance, but it is one full city block. It contains 9 homes that have all been restored back to their originality. In the homes are the relics that Mr. Dow collected throughout the years that reflect on the different time periods. And it just gives you a real good idea how life was back during that era. A couple of more famous people who have, if not resided here, at least stayed here. Prince Murat, that was the Napoleon Bonaparte South nephew, as well as Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is stop number 10. This is a old St. Augustine village. Now I'm going to give you a little piece of information that I want you to store away in the back of your mind for just a minute, because we're going to have a little test. Over here to your right in this courtyard, this is where the first reading of the Emancipation Proclamation took place in the state of Florida back in 1863. You'll recall that the Emancipation Proclamation is what freed the slaves. Over here to your left, this is the other end of the swimming pool. Now, in 1948, a gentleman by the name of Otto Leitner bought this building. He was a wealthy man from Chicago. In fact, he was the publisher who founded Hobbies magazine, and he liked to collect things. A few years later, he donated the building and its contents to the city of St. Augustine, and the only way I can describe the Leitner Museum is a collection of his collections. It is anything from music boxes to musical instruments to stained glass, costumes, jewelry, furniture. It's a collection of his collections. And it's also his burial site. Otto is buried in the courtyard inside. Also, it's pretty jumping on. So if you want to come down here and be a tour guide, go in there. We'll give you a test. Question number 1, what's your name? Question number 2, are you sure? If you get one of those half right, you're good. This is stop number 11. This is the Leitner Museum. Now, the statue to your left, this is Pedro Menendez Diabeles. I don't know if it's life-size or not, like the little one of Juan Ponce de Leon, but I do know that there's a twin to it over in Avilés, Spain, which was his hometown. Watch your steps getting down. Let's see, oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, now if you look over here to your right, this is the front view of what was once the world-famous Ponce de Leon Hotel. If you think it looks elegant today, imagine what they thought of it. Imagine what they thought of it back in 1888 when it first opened. That was embarrassing to even blow that thing. I know. I don't think they'll give me a gun. I'm not allowed. You know, that little temper of mine. Okay, so what did I tell you to remember over on the other side? You gotta yell, I can't hear you. Oh, no, this wasn't his reminder, but what happened in the courtyard?
The first reading of the Emancipation Proclamation!
I can't hear you guys back there because I have this engine next to me. The Emancipation Proclamation. Who wrote the Emancipation Proclamation? Abraham Lincoln. We are entering into a section of town that's known as Lincolnville. It was named in honor of Abraham Lincoln because it was a settlement of newly freed slaves. It is 50 city blocks and it contains the largest collection of Victorian-era homes that we have in the city to date. Originally, this was developed with money that came through Spanish land grants. It's a very ethnically mixed neighborhood that until recently has been on forgotten or neglected section of town. It's now the up-and-coming place to buy property. I'll explain why and I'll show you a couple of renovations in a minute, but first, I got to tell you something about St. Augustine back in the 1960s. We were racist. We did not like to serve folks of color at the lunch counter at Woolworth's department store, so we didn't. So one man came down here and he set us straight. And when Dr. Martin Luther King got here, he preached at this church over here on your right, and he preached at the church straight ahead. Now, at least you think this man had an easy time of it when he got down here. He did not. First of all, Dr. King could not get a hotel room because nobody wanted to rent a room to a colored person. Then he had white friends that were staying at one of the hotels here. They invited Dr. King over to go swimming. The hotel owner ran out and dumped acid in the swimming pool so that Dr. King could not swim in the pool. Yes, it was a very racist town. civil rights movement was not exactly, he ended up changing the minds of the people here, don't worry. But I mean, the civil rights movement was not exactly met with open arms, at least not at first, and especially not down here in the South. In fact, when Dr. King got here, the FBI told him, not only do these people not want to hear what you have to say, they plan to kill you while you're there. He could not sleep in the same place 2 nights in a row. He literally had to hide in a different private residence every night. He slept at the Corey Tyson house over on your left, the White House with the red trim, and he slept in the house next door. Not on consecutive nights. In fact, it was so bad it was probably not even on the same visit. Now also to your left, the yellow house and the pink house next to it, and to your right, this blue house. These are some of the renovations that are going on in the area. But look at the lattice work on these homes. This is all the original lattice work, whether they've been renovated yet or not. Look over to your right at this green and white one. Look at the detail on that. That's not stuff you're going into Home Depot buying pre-cut. This is all the original hand-carved lattice work. These homes are absolutely gorgeous. You get on some of these side streets, you're going to see architecture that is just unbelievable. I didn't let him go because he was a police officer. I let him go because he was cute. Over to your right, this store, this used to be a Grand Manor home. Belonged to a Dr. Shine and his wife, Maria. Maria's great-grandfather was Thomas Jefferson. Now, unfortunately, there's only 2 plantations remaining here in St. Augustine. The first one I'm going to show you is the Yahala plantation. Yahala means orange in Seminole. So what did they grow there? Oranges. Oranges. Over there on your left, this is the Yahala plantation. It is a private residence and it is not open to the public. But here's what's going on in the area. Straight ahead. That is the San Sebastian River Inlet. I know it's not looking like too much right now, but we just started breaking ground on what's to be the San Sebastian River Inlet project. Marina, condominium, shops, and restaurants. All of a sudden, everybody goes, oh yeah, Lincolnville's down there. Came running down here, bought up the property, and skyrocketed the property value like you would not believe. But they made a rule. You buy one of these homes, you must restore it back to its originality. You cannot tear it down, you cannot modernize it, you can't turn it into apartments, at least as far as outward appearances, you must restore it back to its originality. You come back down here in a few years, this section of town is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I'll show you a little idea how high they've skyrocketed the property value. 10 years ago, you could have picked up any one of these houses down here, even that big pink one back there, for less than $25,000. Now, you get one of these ones coming up here on your right for less than $150,000. You better grab it because you got a deal. I call on the one next to the Corey Tyson house. Call at the one next to the Corey Tyson house back there. $450,000, and that's the average price for a house in this area. Don't worry though, because the original people that settled here, they got grandfathered in as far as tax stuff. Yep. Over there on your left, here seems to be the hotbed of the commercial fishing industry. The guys used to come down here and fish for whatever happened to be in season. Then they'd send it wherever it needed to go, but to keep it from spoiling, they'd go to this building here on your left. This used to be the St. Augustine Ice House. Now, Henry Flagler owned the railroads. He had a way to get people down here. He owned the hotels. He had a place for them to stay. What he didn't have was a way to get them from point A to point B. So Louis Cooley developed the St. Augustine Transfer Company. It is the oldest continuously running business in St. Augustine. It's sit on your right, horse and buggy. Started off with horse and buggy, and still horse and buggy. And ahead to your left, the building with the stars. This used to be the Soya Carbona cigar factory. This was the second largest employer behind Henry Flagler, and they employed about 50 people. The stars on the side of the building, they're hurricane rods. They're metal rods that shoot through the floor of your building. When a hurricane comes, it just gives your structure a little extra support. The stars on the outside, they simply camouflage the fact that you've got metal rods shooting through your building. If you go through town, you'll see a lot of buildings have them. Some of them have just been covered up completely when they finish the walls. But for the ones that have the designer of camouflage, I guess, you'll see anything from circles, stars, squares, diamonds, all the way up to sand dollars, seahorses, seashells. Some look like flower pots, but they're there. Now, Henry Flagler, he was a very shrewd businessman, but he was also a very generous man. So when you worked for Henry, he sent you down here to this building on your right. This is the St. Augustine Police Department. This used to be the Florida East Coast Railway Hospital. Henry sent you down here so you could get your free health care. Is that the cute one that I let go through the stop sign? One, I keep trying to get pulled over by him because he was letting me get away with murder. I'm like, no, please pull me over. All right, next stop is stop number 12, San Sebastian Winery. They do have tours as well as free samples, so here's a little trick I've developed. You go in, hi horsey. You go in, you take the tour, you get your samples, you come out. You turn around, you go back in, you take the tour, you get another sample, you come out. You turn around, you go back in, you take the tour, you get another sample, and you come out. Keep that pattern going for about 4 hours. And this is stop number 12, this is the San Sebastian Winery. Merry, but she got sick and died, so she wasn't too merry after that. She was even less merry when she looked down from up above and saw who wife number 2 was. Wife number 2 is Ida Alice. Ida Alice was Mary's nurse while she was sick and dying. Yeah, but Ida Alice was crazy, so Henry divorced her. He then married his 3rd wife. Now, her name was also Mary, but this Mary, she was about 30-some years younger than Henry. When he died, he left everything to her. But she only enjoyed the wealthy widowhood about 4 years, and then she herself passed away. She left everything to her family, the Keenans, out of the Carolinas. Until recently, I knew nothing about them. Until some man from the Carolinas informed me that the Keenans pretty much own the Carolinas. Very political, but influential, wealthy family. In fact, they got a football stadium. I was like, in my book, when you get your own football stadium, you have arrived. But at that time, they knew nothing about the railroads, nor did they want to. So they sold the Florida East Coast Railway system to a family by the name of DuPont. Now, there's a name we know. DuPont came down here. They built these 3 buildings up here on your left. We call them the triplets. They housed the FEC offices. Still do today. Another little personal theory of mine. You know why the DuPonts have so much money, don't you? Because they're cheap. Bought 1 set of blueprints, used them 3 times. I mean, come on, with all their money, they could have painted one of those things at least a different color. All right, well, Ida Alice, she was undisputably crazy, but opium was free-flowing back in those days, and she liked to make sure she got more than her fair share. She also liked to play at the Ouija board. Ouija board told her the Tsar of Russia wanted to marry her, and she believed it. You'd find her dancing down at the ballroom all by herself, wearing this stupid little tiara on her head. You'd ask her who she was dancing with, she'd tell you the Tsar, and you'd be like, fine, and walk away. But Henry liked to instigate her. One night he was having a very elegant dinner party at the hotel, and that afternoon he did something to Ida Alice that just really got her goat. So she got her revenge. She showed up late for the dinner party, and when she finally arrives, she comes traipsing down that grand staircase into the ballroom wearing that stupid little tiara on her head. And nothing else. Yep. Yeah, her and Henry, they didn't get along too well, so she tried to kill him. She actually tried to kill him a couple times, and he got tired of it and had her committed. Then he found out you can't divorce a spouse that you've had committed. So what do? You donate $120,000 to the state legislature. As a small token of appreciation, that locket's taken off the books for 1 day. Henry, he had ESP that year. He knew when that day was. He was ready and waiting, paperwork in hand. That day comes, he divorced Ida Alice. 24 hours later, that law was back on the books. That's how you handle that little problem. Second plantation I'm going to show you is the Markland Plantation. This was built by Dr. Andrew Anderson, who unfortunately passed away right before its completion, but it remained in his family for a number of years and now belongs to Flagler College. Now this is a Greek revival style structure, and this is more the image that comes to my mind when you say a southern plantation. But over here to the left, this is the Markland Plantation. His orange grove stretched from the house all the way back down to the waterway, down by the winery where we just were. Now straight ahead, the white building with the terracotta roof, that is the Casa Monica Hotel. That was built by Franklin Smith out of Boston, but within a year of opening the hotel, Franklin had to declare bankruptcy, so Flagler bought it from him. Henry now owned the Ponce de Leon, the Casa Monica, and the Alcazar Hotel. He is the only person in history, including a corporation, to date, to own 3 major luxury resort hotels that all opened in the same year, operated at the same time, in the same city, within 1 block of each other. Over on our right, this was Villa Dorada. This is Franklin's winter home for him and his family. This is built in 1883. It's fashioned after the Alhambra over in Spain, and the name Dorada is derived from one of the Spanish Sultan's daughters. Why did Franklin have to declare bankruptcy in the first place? Well, a lot of people would love to say that Flagler played some scandalous role in it, but no. Franklin was victim of circumstances. The plumbers he used, a union out of New York City, halfway through the project, they went on strike, packed their stuff, and left. The furniture company he ordered his furniture from burnt down, lost everything. There's no way it was going to be able to be replaced in time for the opening. And to top it all off, the yellow fever epidemic made a comeback that year, twice as bad as when it was here in 1821. Over on your right, the grand entranceway. This is where the horse and buggy used to come in and drop the guests off. Today, it's the same function, just a different mode of transportation. And ahead, in the center of town, is the plaza. The King of Spain declared every Spanish settlement must have a plaza at the center of their city. This is ours, and it is the oldest one in the United States. The monument in the middle commemorates the signing of the 1812 signing of the Constitution of Spain. Over on your right, this used to be the Woolworths department store where we refused to serve the folks of color at the lunch counter. This is basically where the civil rights movement in the state of Florida kicked off from. And this is stop number 13. This is Potter's Wax Museum. Yes, this is also the beach shuttle stop. That's him right there. Yep. You have a good one. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
How about toy old soccer? Is it on the shelf in there?
Oh, you know you're in the hottest seat. Yeah. Oh, I don't have tickets. I'll take you to a stop where they have them. Yeah. No, don't go out that way. You'll get hit by car. Hey, St. Augustine, we're not known for our good driving. If you look over here to your right, this is Avalanche Street. See that rut that goes down the middle of it? That's all the years the horse and buggies have gone up and down it. All right, where do you go now? Okay, here you are. When we go up here past A1A Airworks, you look in here. Remember I told you about the hotel with the baseball players? You see the steps, these wooden steps? Those used to be in the hotel. This also used to be St. Augustine's leading department store. They called it the supply store because the shipments back then were so erratic. You never knew what you were going to get or when you were going to get it. So they called it the supply store. Straight ahead is O.T. White's restaurant. The building with the red shutters, very good restaurant. But it was built in the 1790s and it used to be one of St. Augustine's first hotels. It also used to be located across the street, that empty lot. In 1961, they decided they didn't want it over there. They wanted it over here. They picked it up and moved it block by block. But they had to duplicate it exactly because otherwise it would have lost its registry as a historical landmark. So now that you've been on the tour, how many cemeteries have you seen?
Yes, sir.
2. So you're on territory where all these major battles were fought. Where's everyone buried?
Johnny who?
No, we only have 2 cemeteries.
Johnny, let me give you a call.
Those are the streets.
We're up in St. Augustine doing the
Yeah, a number of years ago, we had some irrigation problems. The city started digging up the streets to fix it. They found all kinds of bones. So Spain says, hey, we want our loved ones back. We're like, they could be French, British, who knows who they are. Oh, we'll do DNA testing. Okay, compared to what? You know? So we got so frustrated, we fixed the problem, and then we put the dirt back, put the bones back, put the bricks back. That's it. You want your loved ones, you figure out who's who, come get them. Never heard from them again. At least not on that one. But I remember Brooks Brothers Suits. Over here to your right, this white Morris Bible Chapel. This is one of the brothers' homes right there. And our next stop will be stop number 14, which is the oldest house. This is not the first house. The first house has long since been burned down. This is the oldest house, dates back to the 1720s, and it actually represents 2 periods. The Spanish were the original owners. They built the bottom level made out of coquina. The British came in, they took over ownership, they added the second story and the balcony. And this is stop number 14. This is the oldest house. Everyone stay? Okay. Nobody rode with me yet today, right? Or yesterday, okay. I'll tell you guys the story. As soon as we get in the parking lot. If you look through this to your right, through this black gate, that is Spanish moss. That big plant, that's the plant that topped our defense wall. And if you look at the crowbar house, you notice how clear the doors are. Turn the bed, look how close to the ground the windows are. I told you, Juan Ponce de Leon is the tallest guy we had. He's only 4'11". If they'd made him any higher up, nobody would be able to see out of him. And this is Charlotte Street. This is the oldest street in the United States. All right. Quick story. It's actually kind of a long story, so I have to walk fast. Over to your right, through those trees, that's St. Joseph's Academy. I showed you Avalanche Street. On Avalanche Street is the Father O'Reilly house. Father O'Reilly was a Catholic priest whose parish was St. Joseph's. In the Father O'Reilly house is the Hurricane Lady. 1565, we were not self-sufficient. All our supplies came from Spain. King of Spain declared all supply ships must stop at 2 ports along the way, Cuba and Mexico. While they were there, the governments there could help themselves to whatever supplies they felt they needed. 10 times out of 10, it was everything on the ship. By the time the boats got here, all we got were Spanish-speaking rats. Well, they finally figured out a way that one of these ships was going to leave Spain and forget to stop at the other 2 ports. They set sail, they get stuck in a hurricane, throw everything overboard trying to lighten the load. They go down to the bottom of the ship, they find a crate. In the crate is a statue of the Virgin Mary. Well, these are devout Catholics, no way they're throwing her overboard. Throw the crate overboard, tie her to a post, get down on their knees, and pray for her to get them out of the hurricane. Sure enough, a little bit later, the hurricane ends. They come sailing into town with good news and bad news. Bad news, we got stuck in a hurricane, threw all your supplies overboard. The good news, we got you this really cool statue. We call her the Hurricane Lady. She'll protect you from any more hurricanes. No idea who she belongs to. A couple different families owned her. The last family that had her, their daughter joined the Sisters of St. Joseph's Convent to become a nun. They donated the statue as a tithing, but they put 2 stipulations. Number 1, she can never be viewed by the public. Number 2, she can never be photographed. Otherwise, you're going to break that protective charm that keeps the hurricanes away. Well, the whole time the good sisters had her in their care, they must have been working on her left and right. Pride got the better of them, not this past April, but last April, they put her on display at Father O'Reilly House. Yeah, St. Augustine got hit by 4 hurricanes for the first time in history last year. Yeah. She's still on display, too. Yep. Ever been in a Publix when they come on to PA and say, sorry, we're now out of toilet paper and beer? And you're thinking, yep, should have evacuated. Across the street to your right, the cream-colored home with the maroon balcony, that is the ambiance house. That is the second oldest house in St. Augustine. Sorry. I tried. Over to your right, this is St. Francis Barracks. This was originally the priory for the Franciscan Order of Friars. In 1763, it came under the ownership of the British Army, and it has remained a military installation of one capacity or another ever since. Today, this is a building that we're very proud of, not only because of its beauty, but because of the people inside of it. This is headquarters to the Florida National Guard. I know if I'm hot, you guys are hot. Across the bay is the lighthouse. That's the general area where the coquina for the fort would have been mined. 219 steps up to the top, but well worth the trip. Beautiful view. The candy cane pattern you see, along with the color combination, that is unique only to St. Augustine. Every lighthouse in the United States has their own unique color combination and pattern. That way, if you get lost at sea, you can determine where you are based upon the next lighthouse that you come across. Yeah, like I know all 56,000 color combinations and patterns. It's the only one I know. They work, so, you look out. Nope, doesn't look familiar, still lost, keep going. Little thing about the Florida National Guard. Those guys got deployed after the terrorist attacks. They got back just in time for hurricane season last year. Half of them didn't even get to go home and see their families before they got sent out to do the disaster duty. So I have a whole new respect for those guys. It's not a weekend thing. Everyone confuses them with the reserves. It's not. Over on your right, the Santa Maria Restaurant, built in the 1700s. It was originally a bathhouse. You used to come down here and take a bath for 10 cents. What I think is interesting is from 1910 to 1917, this was the private residence of our mayor, Mayor Kingham. I think that'd be a cool house. That's my yacht, yes sir. Saved up my tips all week and bought it. Would you like to go swimming, or would you like to go, I don't know, what do you want to yacht? You don't sail. You want to go boating? You know what, this is not it, but it looks very similar to that one. Andy Williams comes in a lot. The singer from Moon River, he comes in a lot. His is called the Norwegian Queen. So if you ever see it, that's what that is. But the flag that spans our waterway, that is the Flagler Memorial Bridge. This was built in, it was originally built in 1895, and it was a wooden pole bridge. It was the only access we had over there on State Island. 1925, they said, it's an eyesore. So they tore it down and put up rebuild it out of its current material. They completed it in 1927, and they called it the Flagler Memorial Bridge. A year later, Dr. Andrew Anderson, the one that built the big, beautiful plantation, he donated a set of Carrara marble lions to the city. That's the same material that Michelangelo worked with. The city placed them at the base of the bridge, and ever since then, everyone just calls it the Bridge of Lions. But the lions aren't there, because about 6 years ago, they said, it's an eyesore. They're going to tear it down, put up a causeway. People saying, obviously, were like, where are dead bodies? So they said, okay, fine, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tear the center section out, turn this into a walking bridge, build a causeway either next door or over top of the Bridge of Lions. over our dead bodies, you will. We took them to court. We ended up in 6 years of legal battles, and we're just starting the first phases of what's going to happen. They're going to build a temporary bridge next to the Bridge Alliance. They're going to renovate the Bridge Alliance and then tear the temporary bridge down. It's supposed to take about 5 years, $7.5 million. Don't even think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. It was our idea. We don't want to lose our bridge. We only have 2 drawbridges left here in St. Augustine. But I mean, this is something, if you're from here, you know somewhere people say, where are you from? St. Augustine. 9 times out of 10, the Bridge Alliance is what comes out of their mouth first. It's not the port, it's not the college, it's the Bridge Alliance. But we also, not only do we not want to lose our bridge, we don't want to lose our lions. So we took them and put them into protective storage. So it's all done. All you need is that big crane, swing around and smack into it. You know, it'd be all over, shatter it. It's kind of interesting to watch how they're doing the construction. Now coming up on our right, this looks like a sidewalk, but it's actually a seawall. It stretches from the port all the way back down to the National Guard Armory. It was built in the 1830s, 1840s, and basically it keeps the water where the water belongs and the land where the land belongs. Even during the hurricanes, it did a pretty good job. And majority of these boats out here, believe it or not, these are private residents. They live out here all year round. Hey, horsey, horsey. I like those things. And this is kind of hard to see right now, but if you look out on the horizon, out between the 2 pieces of land that stick out, right where the water meets the sky, you can just make out some white stuff if you really look. Those are waves. Those are the breakers. That is where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Intercoastal, and it is the only access that we have to the Atlantic Ocean. And if you want to come down here by boat, you miss that, you have to go all the way down to Daytona, which is another 3-4 hour boat ride. And coming in here, oh, see this bridge over here, that causeway? That used to be a drawbridge also. It's a lift bridge. The whole center section lifted straight up as opposed to folding open and closed like the Bridge Alliance. Barge hit into it. The damage was so bad they had to rebuild it. So. This is stop number 15. This is the Fort Castillo de San Marcos. One of those cannons. You know how far that cannonball would go? 1 to 3 miles. That means if you fire that cannon, it's going to go all the way past the lighthouse. Not bad, huh? But if you look at the grass, what's that? You went in there? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to go in. If you look at the grass surrounding the fort, you have to admit that as far as the fort lawns go, it's looking pretty good, huh? Compliments at guess who? Henry Flagler. Not the way you think. Henry went to the city and he says, hey, tear the fort down. I want to put up an 18-hole golf course so my guests can play golf while they're here. City says, okay, no problem. One man says, wait a minute, that thing has historical significance. You can't just tear it down and put up a golf course. City agreed they better hang on to the fort, but they also allowed Henry to build a 9-hole golf course on the grounds surrounding the fort. That's what he did. Now, if you look up here to your right, this wood wall, this is part of our moat. We had what was called a dry moat. This wall would have been about 18 feet tall. On the other side, there's a ditch that would have been about 22 feet deep. Go past, look at the way the back of that wall is built. You did not need water in there. There's no way anybody was going to get up that thing. They put that Spanish bayonet, the sharp cactus plant in there, and let the animals graze, and that was it. It was a dry moat. Now coming up to our right, quickly, believe it or not, this used to be the Wharton Castle. William Wharton was in partnership with Henry Flagler and John D. Rockefeller and the Standard Oil Corporation. He built this in 1887 for his wife and 14 children. Now, 14 was not an unheard of number back then. It was rather rare. All 14 of the Wharton children were alive at the same time. That was kind of unusual for back in the 1880s. This later came under the ownership of a woman you might have heard of, Marjorie Keenan Rowling. She wrote the novel The Yearling. Her and her husband owned it and operated it as a hotel. And this is stop number 16. This is the Exxon station. Don't laugh, I told you Standard Oil became Mobil and Exxon. So this is the Exxon station. And this is stop number 6. Did you come up with a reason for me to give the Bob why I can't come to work the rest of the day?
You wouldn't listen to it.
He didn't fall for that one. I tried telling my boss my appendix will burst, so I had to go home. Because I want to go to the beach. She's like, no. Right, now if you've been on the tour since the beginning, I told you that coquina dries to be as hard as cement, but yet it remains very absorbent. I also told you that our fort has never been taken in battle, and I didn't tell you this story, but it is a known fact. We have done more damage to our fort than anything or anyone else since the day it was built. There was a British admiral that came into town. He bombarded the fort for 58 days straight, day and night with cannonballs. Nothing happened. He got so mad, he took his troops, he marched them into town, and he burnt the town down. We no longer had our city, but we still had our fort, so everything was okay. Our guys went out after the attack. They wanted to try to retrieve the cannonballs and see if they could reuse them. Not only could they not find them, the coquina had just sucked them right in. You like fire trucks? Yeah. Guess what I did when I lived up in Pittsburgh? I was a firefighter. I used to drive fire trucks. Don't worry, I drive trolleys better than I drive fire trucks. Huh? Yeah, it does. This little section we call Antique Alley, it's just a collection of shops. They have some unique items in them. But if you look over to your right, that big cross that you see, that was donated by the Catholic Diocese. Not only in honor of the 400-year anniversary of the founding of St. Augustine, but especially to honor the 400-year anniversary of the first Catholic Mass performed in the new land. It was donated in 1965, and it is made out of stainless steel. It is 208 feet tall. If it was any taller, the FAA would require that we have flashing red lights on top of it so that the airplanes don't run into it. I may be a girl, but what do you think, ladies? Bought a stainless steel cross 208 feet tall? You don't need a red light, huh? Yeah. Oh, not only that, but no respectable Catholic parish is going to let you put a flashing red light on their cross, so they said that's all right, we'll leave it at 208 feet. But if you look across the bridge and then to the right of it, in front of the trees, that green statue you see with the thorns raised, that's Father Lopez. That is the priest that performed the first Catholic Mass in the new land. And this is stop number 17. This is the mission, the Nombre de Dios. I'm willing to venture it's going to hurt. Oh, you know what she does? She's a stunt pilot. So it's not enough. It's not something unrealistic. If you're at the beach, you might be there and see an airplane all of a sudden heading straight towards the ground, and you're thinking, oh, that thing's crashing. She goes out there and does her stunts. Yeah, so you might see her. She goes right out of the airport here. Over to your left is the church. This is the Prince of Peace Church. This was built in 1965 also, just like the cross. And their mission statement is nuclear disarmament, but it's made out of coquina. And it is the last building in St. Augustine to be made out of coquina. People think I'm kidding when I say this. I'm not. It is illegal to get coquina, okay? It's a natural formation of water, sand, and seashell, and it's not rejuvenating itself the way that it used to, so they have placed it on what would be the equivalent of the endangered species list. You can buy it at the stores and stuff, but if they catch you out on the beach digging it up on your own and you don't have a license to do it, it's a $2,000 fine. So, yeah, don't touch the coquina. Now next I'm going to take you to St. Augustine's oldest living resident. St. Augustine was founded in 1565, so it only stands to reason. It's not a who, it's a what. We call it the Old Senator. And what exactly is it? It's that tree straight ahead. It's a giant live oak that's over 600 years old, which is rare because typically these oaks survive to be about 300 years old. This is not the oldest one in the United States. This is the area where Juan Ponce de Leon landed when he arrived here. Yeah, it is. If you look at the limbs on the tree, that stuff you see growing, that is called resurrection fern. When we go without rain for a couple days, it'll turn brown, shrivel up, and look like it's dead. As soon as we get some rain, boom, it comes back all lush and green. And this is stop number 18. This is the Old Senator. Do you know? Is it as big as this one? Oh, okay. So it's not as old as this one then, huh? Yeah. Now next I'm going to take you on to what National Geographic magazine calls one of the top 10 most beautiful streets in the United States, Magnolia Avenue. But guess what's not on Magnolia Avenue? Nope. There used to be. They were killed off during the frost back in 1894. That's the year it went down to 7 degrees here in St. Augustine. Killed off the orange groves, the grape vineyards, everything. In fact, we have not had a large-scale successful crop in our area since 1894. What we have on the street now, though, is proven to be just as pretty. 75 southern live oaks. They line the street, they form a natural canopy. The canopy is actually complements to the ocean breeze. If you look at the left side of the street, the trees here grow relatively straight. The right side, you'll notice, is what forms the canopy because the breeze is constantly blowing this way. Spanish moss that you see hanging down, it's not Spanish, it's not moss, it's an air plant. It takes all its nutrients from the air. Believe it or not, it's a member of the pineapple family. And it's also responsible for the first recall in the United States. When we came out with the Model T Fords, they used Spanish moss to stuff the seat cushions. There's mites in the moss. We call them bed bugs. Came out, every time you sat down, you got bit. So they had to recall the cars. How old or what? The trees? Oh, this Trolley? This is, I'll tell you in a minute. Another Florida unidentified bug. As soon as I find it. Let's see. I can't even find my stuff in here. Okay, how old do you think? That coquina is a natural formation of water, sand, and seashell. Tabby is a man-made formation of water, sand, seashell, and lime. You go into town, look down at the floors of the buildings. If you see little pieces of crushed up seashell on the floor, it's an original floor. Those are the only two materials we had to work with back then. This is a defense wall, so not only did they not crush up the seashells, they used oyster shells. Short as the wall is, harmless as it looks, you climb it, you're going to get cut. You're not going to bleed to death. You're going to die 2 weeks later from the infection that you picked up off the bacteria that was on the oyster shells. And even if it didn't kill you, you know what the most common cure for infection was back then? Amputation. Yep. And this is going to be stop number 19, the Fountain of Youth. Now the reason, we'll see how you guys watch your steps. The reason that Juan's living to be 30, maybe 40 years old tops. The Native Americans that met him when they got here, they were living to be 70 and 80 years old, but they had settled right here and they were drinking the water. So Juan figures it's the water. He starts hanging out with them, he starts drinking the water, and next thing you know, he lived to be 61. So he almost doubled his life expectancy. And some people say the reason the old senator survived so long is because it's old enough that its roots can dig down and tap into the natural spring through the Fountain of Youth. Who knows? I drink it, or I drank it. I go on Saturday night, 10 o'clock, I'm like, okay, can we go home? All right, still no birds. We have white peacocks here at the Fountain of Youth that are absolutely beautiful, but unfortunately, once it gets to be a certain temperature, they go down by the water to try to cool off. But if you're here for the day, keep an eye out in that area as you're coming back and forth. Okay, one little piece of business to take care of. When you're done with your trip, please don't throw your ticket away. On the back is a postage stamp comment card. The boss wants to know whether or not you had a good time and whether or not we did a good job. So if you could take a minute and fill it out, we would appreciate it. My name is Kristen. We understand you have a lot of drivers throughout your stay, so if you don't want to mention by name, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. If you didn't enjoy your tour, my name's Bob Henderson. The boss. Okay, one more influence of Henry Flagler, if you can handle it, and that is the jail itself. The jail used to be located downtown across the street from Henry's hotels. Henry didn't like that. So he goes to the city and he tells them to move it. City says no. Henry says, okay. City says, where do you want it? Wait a minute. Looking beautiful. in his yard all herself. So they rebuilt the jail out here. So then Henry takes it one step further. He says, you know what? I don't want my guests coming down on the trains to look out the window of the train and see a jail. So do you think you can make it look like an old Victorian home instead of a jail? Well, Henry was paying for it, so it was a rhetorical question. You know, that's why it looks like an old Victorian jail, or an old Victorian home instead of a jail. Backfired on him, though. People look out the window of the train because it was a hotel. They'd get off the train, come over and try to check in. Now, don't forget that your tickets are also good for admission to the Florida Heritage Museum. You go to your far right for Gator Bob's. They have artifacts and displays that show over 400 years of Florida history. And this is stop number 20, and in about 4 minutes, you'll be pulling out with another driver, and it will become...
All right. My name is Deputy Roy. First name is Deputy, and my last name is Roy. You can call me Deputy Roy, or Boss for short, I really don't care. Now, the building you're standing in front of is your new home. Welcome home, women's. Now, this is not the old jail, because 17 years ago, Henry Flagler done come into town. He popped that railroad up going all the way through Florida and popped up his fancy-schmancy hotels for all his rich northern friends to come and stay at. But he realized that he made a mistake. When they looked out of their window, they are only looking at a nasty, decrepit jail with nasty, decrepit prisoners like yourselves. Now, what does somebody want to pay all that money to go and look at nasty prisoners for? They don't. So Henry Flagler come down here and paid $10,000 to have this jail relocated and rebuilt. Now he's done it in Queen Anne Victorian style, all purdy like. But there's one problem. What do I want with a purdy jail? Gosh, now all them tourists come down in here and knock on the door at night because they can't see them bars wanting to check in. But I'm really nice to them, I tell them. If you want to check in, just go down to the saloon, have a drink, start a fight, and steal a horse. I'll check you in right nice. Now, if y'all come with me, we're going to go around to the back for your processing because you can't go in the front door. That's for fancy folk like me.
Oh. Yeah.
You have your paperwork, ma'am. Be sure y'all say hello to the sheriff, Joe Perry. He's
Hello,
a
Joe
strong
Perry.
South guy. How do you, Sheriff?
Yeah.
Who here's ever heard the term jailbird? You have? You come with me. Come on. Could you hold that? They done took my lock.
Oh, yeah. I myself
Now, this here is the bird cage. This is a form of public humiliation. See, what we're going to do is we're going to take a rope, string it through that loop, and hang you in that tree up there for 24 hours. Now, if that won't make you sorry for the crimes you done committed, then maybe the fact that all the local folk going to come and have a picnic underneath you and throw their rotten fruits and vegetables at you. And then if that don't do the trick, I can't wait till you have to take your first restroom break. Oh, does anybody want to claim her?
We'll take her.
Are you sure? Sir,
Well,
you're a brave man. Man, you
Actually,
realize
never
this
mind.
means that now you have to do everything that he tells you to do.
Oh, I'll stay here.
All right,
I refuse. No.
if y'all will notice right up here at these two windows, these have no bars on them. That is because that is the sheriff's home. He lives there with his wife and 2 children. If he hears you cussing or backsassing a deputy or doing anything I've seen, he will throw you into solitary confinement. But he's a respectable man. He's chased criminals from Key West, Florida, all the way over to Alabama. And he always gets his man. I mean, sure, sometimes he brings him back alive. But anyway, the next thing I'm going to have to ask you to do, it might be a little difficult for some of you, it just depends on your education level. what I need you to do is form a line right over here. You got the leader tied. Come with me. Come on. Everyone follow her. I want you right here. Right here, woman! Now, y'all got y'all's paperwork? I'll just get it from you after the tour. Now, I'm going to tell y'all a little story about a man named Charlie Powell. Old Charlie was a troublemaker from the very start. See, Charlie was on death row, and on the morning of his execution, the sheriff came into his cell to pick him up. Well, he actually had to pick him up because Charlie was complaining that his legs was broken. Of course, Charlie's legs wasn't really broken. He just didn't want to get himself hung. So the sheriff, he had me run out here and get a board just like one of them right there, and we tied him up real nice to it, and we propped it up, and he was neck high. Well, we dragged him on up there, got him through the noose, and dropped it. Well, we hadn't thought about the weight of that, the extra weight of the board, and the rope snapped. And down comes Charlie, slams into the ground, and rolls out into the crowd right where you're standing right now. Now, there's a crazy law in St. Augustine that says you cannot hang a man twice for the same crime. I don't understand that, but there's a lot of things I don't understand, so I just don't ask questions. But anyway, so the sheriff walks over to Charlie and just looks at him square in the eyes for 10 solid minutes until Charlie passed away. Now, the coroner said that Charlie died of a broken neck, but I don't think so. I think that day they was having a conversation with their eyes, and Charlie just obliged because he didn't want to put up with the sheriff any more than the sheriff wanted to put up with him. Now, boys, I'm going to teach y'all a lesson in manners. This is going to help you later in life. Ladies first. We're going to form a line right over here. Ladies first. Right this way. That's right. Lord, there is a lot of ladies first today. Now, women's, I want y'all to be in this cell right here to your left when you walk in the door. Men, on the right, in the wall. On the wall.
Can you imagine that?
First cell to your left, women's. Oh, act like you haven't done this before, ma'am. Come on, move along. Men's, the wall on your right. Over here, boy.
Okay, we got against the wall, guys.
Women's, welcome home. Scary looking one in the back. Can you give that bucket behind you a little tap with your foot? Well, don't kick your toilet. But you're lucky because you got the cell with the view and no glass on the window. So that means you can empty your bucket if it gets too full. But I wouldn't do that on a particularly windy day, because whatever the weather is outside of your cell, it will be inside too. Now, anything that can creep, crawl, slither, or fly into your cell will, I promise. But you know what? We got you a bed and a mattress to sleep on. We got Spanish moss and hay in there. And if you don't know anything about Spanish moss, it's home to every mite and chigger in the county. That's what we say, don't let the bed bugs bite. Isn't this fun, boys? Of course, your accommodations aren't this fancy, but for now it's fun. Now, I'm going to take y'all into maximum security. Let's go.
What was the most they would put in? You know?
Well, you can have 3 to a bed at some points. There are no regulations. Now, right this way. Looks like the men's have learned their lesson on ladies first. But I suppose that if you was really ladies, that you wouldn't be here in the first place. Now I need y'all to go, stay right over here. Right over here. Right over here. Now, I'm a busy deputy. I got errands to run and things to do. So I'm going to leave y'all in here for a little while and go get another deputy to finish your processing. Now, I hope that the person that finds you is the person that you want to find you. Bye. And stay put!
Yes, sir. Okay, what's
Oh, look, guy's a prisoner.
So much of my piece of advice right here. Yeah, I can remember the last time I had one guy in here trying to hold a piece of fire. Got a job to do for the sheriff here. Yeah. And he turns around and dumps you guys off. Yeah, he's supposed to do this. Yeah, something important. He's going down to the candy store. Yeah, he's gonna get in trouble for this one. Yeah, until somebody comes and gets you out of here, looks like I'm gonna be stuck here. Yeah, so welcome to Maximum Security. Name is Doc. I'm the trustee in charge of it. And you know what? I hope none of you will ever get the opportunity to see this part of jail again. Yeah, or me for that matter. So I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to take about 30 seconds and look around me here real quick. Yeah, move the feet, lie still.
Yeah. He got hanged, didn't he?
All right, time's up. I tell you what, even though you really interrupted me with all this, you know, I'm doing here for shit. See what happened. Yeah, a couple of days ago, his son was jumping on the bed and just broke to pieces. Took one of these little finials off of the top of the bed, closed outside. Yeah, I took this thing outside, one of them, and lost it. Now the sheriff knows I'm real good at carpentry. Yeah, well, that's why I'm called Doc, I'm real good at carpentry. And so the sheriff's asked me to turn around and reproduce with him for him. And that's what I've been working on. Yeah, getting there. And just about there. Almost ready to get the spinals on here. Yeah, almost ready to get a couple of them. Yeah. Still like the sheriff, kind of a little big around the edges there, but that's okay. Yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah, so I'm doing, and that's another reason why you guys ain't supposed to even be in here. Yeah, see, to do this garden, the sheriff gave you the tools back. Yeah, you ain't supposed to be here with me the piece. Yeah, all my files, chisels, yeah. This thing I use to get the file marks on. Yeah, what this thing is? Anybody a hunter? This thing's called a skinning tool. Yeah, that's what I use to scrape the file marks off some of the thing. Yeah. So I'll tell you, even though you interrupted all this stuff, I'm in a good mood. Yeah, one guy in here doing the carving, got my tools. I'm in a real good mood. Yeah, so as long as you're in here, I'm in a good mood. I'm gonna do you a favor. Give you a couple of tips about this joint and maybe help you survive while you're in. Yeah, now there's a couple of things you gotta keep in mind. Well, at least to start. Yeah, first thing is respect. Yeah, sheriff, deputy's family, you gotta show them respect at all times. Yeah, well, at least to their face, but you gotta do that. Even more important though, you gotta listen around here because they do expect you to do what they tell you to do, when they tell you to do it. You're gonna be in trouble. Yeah, see, because Maximum here, this ain't only for the most violent. That's all right there. That's solitary. And depending on what's done wrong, they'll put you in that cell from 4 hours up to 20 days. Yeah, and you ain't gonna be getting a mattress. Y'all are gonna be getting bread and water and ball and chain on your ankle. Yeah, and the only companionship you gotta have. Well, besides me giving you bread and water through that door once a day, it's gonna be what's going on for me. Yeah, and they will do worse, I guarantee it. Yeah, but I'm telling you, start now, keep your nose clean, do what you're told, you might be all right. Yeah, I know, looking around, you might have noticed that these 4 cells here are a little bit larger than the woman's cell back over there. Yeah, quite a bit bigger than what's upstairs up in that somewhere. Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you that if you find yourself behind these doors, don't even take it because they like you, and they're gonna give you the extra little names. Don't work that way. Nah, see, because you guys are upstairs, you guys are going out on the chain gang. Yeah, and all you women, you're gonna be helping out around here with all the chores. Yeah, let's see, in other words, all you're gonna be outside your cell all day. You end up behind these doors, you ain't getting down. Yeah, at least not till your sentence is up. Or like Lee laying in cell 1 over there, they're calling the undertaker, all your body out. Yeah, it's trying that quicker at this thing. Yeah, that's this place to come and go. Yeah, you know what, Phil? See, this is where I come in, without you getting up behind them doors. See, because it might be Perry's jail, but I told you before, Maximus mine. Yeah, so if you're unfortunate enough later on to be looking at me through them doors, yeah, see, because I'm not here while you're in here, it'd be nice. Yeah, be nice. See, because if you're nice, I'll be nice. Yeah, see, if you're nice, I can get you your food on time so it's nice and hot. Yeah, it's still giving you good. That'll be happy. Yeah, I'll take your bucket out to the outhouse over there and empty it out for you. Yeah, well, see, this week I'm gonna have to toss it out 3 bars, put that right outside your window. I can do that. Yeah, and you know what, Tom? Hey, anytime you want it, just ask me, and I'll get you a cup of coffee. Yeah, I'm telling you, have the sulfur water in this town drinks coffee. Yeah, take a moment, yeah, do that. Yeah, and you know what, Tom? I'll even drag your mattress out back and check it out. Yeah, and then just stuff it full of straw for you. Yeah, see, that way we get that the Spanish moss stuff that I've used in here. Yeah, because I'm telling you, that stuff's lousy. Yeah, oh, and I do mean lousy. Oh, yeah, it's the strong stuff. Yeah, I can do that for you. I can do all that for you. Yeah, but that's if you're nice. Yeah, well, if you ain't nice, forget about it. Yeah, we must take everything I just told you, put that in your bucket. Yeah, oh, and if things do get bad enough in here, well, let me put it to you this way. Some of what you might think are rust stains ain't. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, but hey, you ain't gonna have to worry about any of that, because I ain't gonna see none of you guys to get in here, am I? Am I?
No.
Now, you stop and catch that. Yeah, all I do like breaking things in. Yeah, I've been talking to you, I've noticed, your curiosity, you keep on looking up at this photograph they got stuck with me. Yeah, I think when the live show came a while back, put that thing up there. Yeah, so, you know, as long as you're still waiting, I don't see nobody coming to get you. I'll tell you about that thing anyway. Yeah, pass a little time for you. Yeah, that little guy up there with that bouquet of flowers, Sim Jackson. Yeah, it's his hanging. Yeah, and you know what, that thing is unique. Yeah, it really is. See, because look, normally half of the town shows up for every hanging. Oh, it's a social event for these guys. Yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, look at them showing up here in their Sunday best. Yeah, and that was only a Tuesday. Yeah. But see, the whole thing is, sheriff got a problem. Pretty bad with them, because the sheriff hates them things. Absolutely hates them cameras. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about with cameras, Kodak feeds, as a matter of fact. Yeah. You know what, hates them so much, the deputies actually go through that entire crowd. They confiscate every single one of them cameras. Oh, yeah, nobody gets it back till the hanging's over. Yeah. Well, what happened with this photograph here, though? See that morning, Sim's probably got one of them cameras. Asked the sheriff to have this photograph taken. Now, I don't have to tell the sheriff, didn't like that, do I? I went right off. Right off. But obviously, yeah, sheriff gave in because the photograph's hanging here. Well, see, the sheriff had to give in. Yeah. Hey, was Sim's last request. Yeah, sheriff didn't like that at all. I gave in to it. So you know what, though, because of that, though? Yeah. What they got here, then, that makes that the only photograph of the hanging here at the jail. Yeah, well, so far. Yeah. Yeah, because the guy does hate them cameras, it's also the only photograph of the sheriff so far. Yeah. Charles Joseph Perry himself. Ashley. Yeah, and don't feel sorry for Sim. Murdered his wife, nobody liked him, not after what he did to her. Yeah, and you know what, as long as I'm telling you about Sim, and I got Lee laying in there, and actually all the other guys, they all got something in common. Yeah, because you know where they're all spending the last time on the face of this earth. Do you? Yeah, that's so right there, it's good, bro. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, hey, I told you before, I hope none of you get the opportunity to see this part of jail again. Yeah, well, you know what, I hope none of you only get the opportunity to look out the window in that cell again either. So why don't you go see that beautiful view that the sheriff gives you when you're sitting on death row in this joint? Go take a look.
That's sweet.
Every week in the morning, you get to sit and go over your break.
Stop, it looks like you're up to your tricks again.
I don't know what the notion is, yeah, it's just ready to get on and shit.
And what is that prisoner doing with
Hey, what are you gonna do? There's Deputy Roy dumped them off in here. Yeah, and I'm trying to be nice. As long as they got dumped off in here. Yeah, I'm just trying to be nice and show them the ropes.
I get it. Sometimes I wonder which is sharper, your whitlow or your wit.
Hopefully you're never gonna find out.
I say my prayers every night. Come on, Vermin, get a move on.
No, I'm just joking. I don't know.
You guys take care of yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Doc.
Come on, start working your way over that. That's as far as you go. All right, now, let's get something straight. You are in the very heart and soul. No, honey, you be warned. You are in the very heart and soul of this here jail. You're in the kitchen. I'm the matron here, and my name is Joy. But that's Joy Ma'am to y'all. You got that straight? Let me hear you say, yes, Joy Ma'am.
Yes, Joy Man.
I like that. You caught me smiling. I don't like that. Caught me off guard. I'll get your legs for that. Now, I hope y'all like beans and greens. That's dinner tonight. Oh, who we kidding? That's dinner every night. Breakfast, you get a choice though. Grits or grits. But for breakfast, you know, it don't matter none. You just want to shove them down so you can get to work. Because that's what your day is all about. Men, we're going to fix up something special for you for lunch. See, you're out there with all them chains around your ankles. So we want to give you something light to carry for lunch. You're going to have hot coffee and hardtack every day for lunch. Now, ladies, you'll be making a lot of this. It's just 3 ingredients. Flour, salt, and water. That's it. And when you bake it up, it gets nice and hardtack. Now, men, this lasts forever. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's nothing in here to spoil. Except maybe your appetite. Ain't that special? But the downside of this is the bugs love this stuff. You don't even know they're in there till you start gnawing on it. What? It's protein. But if you don't like it, you just plug it into your hot coffee. Them little critters float to the top. Some of the men call that pate. But if you don't like it, you just flick it off. And here's some good advice. If you leave this soaking in here long enough, maybe you won't chip a tooth when you bite into it. Ain't that special? Now, sometimes all of you will have a real treat. Deputy Davis might shoot a couple of possum out in the field, and when that happens, you're going to have meat with your beans and greens, whether you like it or not. Well, women, say bye-bye to the men folk. Bye-bye. She ain't going to see no more. That's right. They're going to be out in the field. You're going to be in here upstairs cleaning. When we feed the men right to some security, we don't go over there, put the food over in that hole, and trustee or deputy will take it from there. You got that? Good. Thanks for paying attention. When we feed the men folk upstairs, you don't go up there with the food now. You put the food in this thing called a dumb waiter. That's a dumb name. There's no waiter in there. Put the food in here, you go pull on the rope. Who goes upstairs? The deputy fetches it from up above. This is 1908. We're modernized. Now it's time to put you men into lockdown. But first I want to mention to you women, as matron, I have an incentive program for you to improve yourselves. I want y'all to strive to be a trustee. It ain't easy, because I don't trust nobody. But if you become a trustee, you get a privilege of cleaning in the sheriff's home. Now you may say, big whoop-de-doo, that sounds like work. Well, Miss Princess, tart, Trust me, darlings, once y'all have been upstairs on your hands and knees, scrubbing the cement floors in the men's cells after they kicked over their buckets. You're gonna consider cleaning the sheriff's home a true privilege. Now, I'm gonna let you see the sheriff's home just to give you the vision to inspire you. Now, this ain't a place to stop and get cozy. It's just a look-a-see. Don't nobody be touching over there. You got that straight, or you'll be eating your own fingers for dinner. No, this ain't Wendy's.
Shot, no fake Wendy's. So chicken out there, fingers, smoking. He snorts.
Mm-hmm.
Look-a-see. Come on back out again. Just to give you an idea what it's like over here. Go on. Go on, take a look-a-see. Now wait, don't leave yet. I like to keep an eye on my prison. You can take a look-a-see too, mister. Don't be touching the...
Happy. Yeah, eating sarcastic.
Hey, you can't go over there, darlings. That's why we got the rope on that side. Because we've had stuff broken, I had to hurt people. And I've made my quota for today already.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, that's right. That's why we got the rope over the other side. All right, now. Women, when you're cleaning this side, this is the sheriff's office. You don't be touching his desk for no reason. Because that's where he does his fingerprinting and his dusting. And I can never tell the good dust from the bad dust, so I don't leave it alone. Now this is where the sheriff sits and reads all of your mail, so watch what you put in your letters, all right? Now it's time to go upstairs to lock down. Now everybody, you watch your step going up them stairs, okay? Because the sheriff don't want nobody breaking their neck before he gets the rope around it. Ain't that special?
All those fruits. The old phone is pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
Do y'all know where you're going? Do you have any idea?
You said something about stairs.
I said something about stairs. I could have said there's a man up there waiting to cut your throat once you get upstairs. And you need to know. You wait for me, woman! You ain't learned nothing yet, have you?
That's how they used to treat Indians. Yeah.
Now I want everybody out of that room. It's the day for hanging. Yes, it is. It's the day for hanging. Oh, yes, it is. It's the day for hanging. And there is a man.
Stairs. Slash your throat.
Steps down. Now, in case any of you was wondering, where does the sheriff sleep? He sleeps in his bed over across the ways. Now, I didn't take you there because I don't feel like getting caught in the sheriff's bedroom with you prisoners. When he's through with you, you got all the time you want to take to mosey around. But show respect to the sheriff's belongings and please don't be touching nothing in his home. You understand?
Yes, ma'am. Joy, ma'am.
Rough.
I know.
They give you any trouble,
Not really, Sheriff.
well, let's keep it that way.
Yes, sir.
Be supper soon, we got us a special treat tonight.
Oh,
Deputy Davis shot a couple of possums. Makes the beans and greens extra good.
Possum on your first night, that's special.
You best go get the fire ready now. They're looking mighty hungry.
All right, prisoners, you're on your own time, and this is the only way
Name is
out.
Charles Joseph Perry. You can call me sir. You're in my jail now, so don't let the fancy outside fool you. Been sheriff in this here county since 1889, 18 years. So y'all best do what you're told. If any of you jack-leg varmints are of mine trying to bust out of here, get it right out of your corn puppet heads. Just take a gander at that cell lockdown system right next to you. Finest in the county. But let's just say you make it outside these walls. If my boys don't part your hair with the first shot from the tower, we'll turn the dogs loose to find them. I chase men as far as the swamps of Alabama, and I always get my man. Never forget that I live here with my wife Lou and 2 youngins. If any of y'all show disrespect to my family, you will answer to me. There'll be no fighting, cussing, or spitting, and no backsassing about the food, or you'll go hungry. Y'all will rise at 5 each morning, spend your full 12 hours cheerfully in hard labor on the county roads. Change one to another. As my daddy, a Baptist minister, would say from the pulpit, sorry is the man who will not work to repent. We have a triple hanging this week, and as is our custom, y'all be made watch. It is your warning to never commit an act of crime. Now we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Y'all decide. Time to be locked down inside the center cell. When your sentence is up, you will leave through that door behind me. Remember that. Time to meet your fellow prisoners inside the cells. Going in there now. Move along, y'all. Move along. Time to move inside the cell.
Good Lord. Hey, how you doing?
Who's sheriff? Are y'all the new prisoners? Well, you must be. Wouldn't be here if in your words.
Come on in.
Did they pick you all up for vagrancy or drunkenness? I did for both. But they got to fill up the jail's work gangs somehow. Good money's being made by rounding us up and making us work off our sentences, digging ditches and building bars. How in tarnation did y'all think they did it? Judges in cahoots with them. I hit a brand new swimming hole 2 years ago. Much as I'll never see where. Thank you kindly, fellow. Work gang.
She's not yet late. This is it. You go out that door.
Lincoln in there.
What?
Abraham Lincoln. Made you up. Is that how you Oh my. Didn't touch anything. Hey, I can't just look.
Ooh, Deputy Sheriff Turner, formerly charged with murder.
I like that. My name is Small. I like that one. Dad.
Uh-huh.
Any gum that is small.
Look at that.
Ooh, that can. This gum can. And that one.
Where's Tommy?
Tommy.
Where's the little brass knuckles?
Mm.
You got a dollar?
Yeah.
Little group back there? Look at that stuff. I mean, a lot of this stuff is really crude. You guys got right here.
That's the try and get it. Try and get it. Try and get it.
That's why I have ropes. Look at the sewing machine. See that black thing on the table? You don't even turn it. I handle it yourself. Yeah, it looks right.
So it's not what you typically would expect to find. But what happens is that we've got a period of time in the world called the colonial period, about 1500 to 1800, about 300 years. And what's happening in the world in those days is ships get good enough where people can travel all the way around the globe. And so these explorers start doing that, guys like Christopher Columbus. And they start finding new places. And in these new places, they find these massive amounts of natural resources and natural wealth. So gold, silver, spices, jewels, ivory, all start pouring back into Europe. Massive amounts of wealth. And the countries who can afford these kind of expeditions, Spain, France, England, Holland, the Ottoman Turks, all start becoming competitors, or what we call competition for empire. Because in those days, they didn't have the kind of wealth creation capitalism we do. They didn't realize that if they worked together, that everybody would benefit. They saw the world as one big pie. And you want to cut the biggest piece for yourself. And so it's like a big family at a small dinner table. They're using their elbows a lot. So you have constant warfare, and these countries start founding colonies and military bases all over the world to protect those areas that they're pulling out all this natural wealth from. And again, the question comes up, why in the world would you want to put something in Florida? Because nobody makes money off of palm trees and alligators and mosquitoes, and maybe until Disney comes out, you know. And it's all about really, as any good realtor will tell you, it's about location. What makes Florida important is something called the Gulf Stream. There's a guy named Ponce de Leon. He's exploring the coast of Florida in 1513. You guys have heard of him, right? Yeah, he's looking for, what is he looking for, you know? Gold in the Fountain of Youth. Contrary to what they tell you at the street, he does not find that. But what Ponce de Leon does discover is probably more important. He's the first navigator to discover and map the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is like a river in the ocean. It starts in the Gulf of Mexico in that beautiful warm water, pushes itself in between Cuba and Florida, and then turns north, travels north along this coast. It's only about 10 or 15 miles off in some places, and actually ends up going all the way across the Atlantic Ocean over by England, which is why England has the warm climate it does. It's the warm water from the Gulf of Mexico that keeps it that way. Now, in the days when sailing ships need wind or tide to move them, this becomes the superhighway of the New World. All those Spanish treasure galleons full of gold and silver and jewels coming out of the Yucatan and Colombia and Venezuela are coasting north along the Gulf Stream so they catch the western winds off of Carolina that blow them back to Spain. It's the way home. The only problem is if we get treasure fleets, what else do we get? Absolutely. Our English and French cousins who start sailing north of us are not leaving those Spanish treasure galleons alone. Of course, they've got some incentive. We're talking pretty big money here. In those 300 years that we're talking in the colonial period, we estimate, and it's a rough estimate, 60 to 80 billion dollars in gold and silver alone coming out of North America, going back to Spain. So a single Spanish ship, something like the Atocha or the Margarita, is a winning lottery ticket in your hand. Somewhere between $7 and $20 million by our dollars today. Even after taxes, that's pretty good money. And these French and English pirates are actually what we call privateers. They have a license. They go to their king, you get a letter of marque and reprisal, which means you can attack anybody's ships, just not mine, and I get a cut. There's benefits in that because you've got a country to go home to and replenish your supplies. And even after taxes, $20 million is not a bad way to go. So there's some incentive there for the French and the English. The King of Spain, of course, is not happy about it. In 1560, they lose half of their treasure fleet that year, either to storms or pirates. That's why by 1565, you find St. Augustine here in Florida. It's founded as a presidio, a Spanish military garrison town, and it is never anything more than that for 200 years. It's a little town on the edge of the known world of about 1,500 people. It's not here because we care about the palm trees and the sand. It's here to keep the French and the English out of these inlets, keep them away from those Spanish treasure fleets coming up the Gulf Stream. And that's why they put us here. Now that's all well and good for the King of Spain, because he's projecting his power and protecting his interests. But why in the world, as a Spaniard, would you come halfway around the globe to this place? It's a wilderness. There's a lot of bugs here. The climate is warm, but so is southern Spain, but the humidity's a little bit much to take. Why in the world would you want to come live here? There is a big incentive for it. Same incentive where people are still moving to Florida. It's land. Back in Spain, you would never have a hope of ever owning a piece of land unless you're the first son of a very rich aristocrat. Back there they have what they call primogeniture. The eldest son inherited everything. If you're second, third, fourth, fifth son, you're on your own. You come to the New World here in St. Augustine. They give you a piece of land and a deed to it. That means you can pass that piece of land back down to your children. Something totally unheard of in Spain. Here you become a hidalgo and your children can benefit. So they're coming here for the sake of owning land and improving the lives of their generations coming after them. So the same incentives that we have today. So they don't see the fort as power projection for the King of Spain, and they certainly don't care about the treasure fleets coming up the Gulf Stream because they don't stop here and we don't get any money from them. But what they care about is this is protection for my family and protection for my future. And so that's what the fort would mean to the individual citizens who are stationed. Big difference. So you can kind of see the concept of the beginning of why the Castillo is here. The Castillo itself is a fantastic piece of Spanish culture. Spanish culture is the first European culture in North America. And the architecture that you see here and the lifestyle that you see represented here is distinctly Spanish. Very, very beautiful in its sense of how it's done. I mean, marvelous engineering. But also, they understood how nature worked and they worked with it. And as you walk into these rooms, you'll understand that. Right now, we're starting to get into a nice breeze and it's cooling down and we're getting some overcast. About an hour ago, you stood out here and then walked into one of these rooms, these casements, you'd have a 10-degree temperature drop. They understood how to insulate from the sun. High ceiling, heat rises, that's why you have the third window up there, lets the heat out, keeps the room cool. And all of their life is like that. One of the interesting things about the 18th century is they understood how nature worked and they worked with it rather than against it. Nowadays we live against nature. We've got these wonderful things like central heat and air. We can close the windows and turn on the AC on a day like today. We've got antiperspirant and deodorant and cologne and SPF 30 sunscreen and bug repellent and all those things that don't exist in the 18th century, which is why I'm dressed the way I'm dressed. Now everybody always asks me, aren't you hot in that? And honestly, the answer is I'm no hotter than you guys are in what you're wearing. In fact, I'm probably more comfortable. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. Well, our ancestors were pretty smart. For 500 years, people dressed like this. You think about the Elizabethans, Francis Drake in the court of Elizabeth, he's wearing these big puffy pants, but they're short like this. All right? Think of a newsboy in 1930 standing on the corner selling newspapers. What's he wearing? A three-piece wool suit, knickers. People wore this prior to air conditioning because it works with nature and it gives me what I need. In warm weather, what it does is I've got loose underlayers and 3 tight overlayers. So as I sweat, it wicks, pulls the moisture away from my body. All I need is a slight breeze, comes right through this woolen linen. Creates evaporation, evaporation cools. It's just like a refrigerator works. So as long as I sweat, I'm probably more comfortable than you guys are. It's the only difference is at the end of the day, I'm kind of slimy and fragrant. But in the 18th century, everybody's slimy and fragrant, so nobody notices. And you women will back me up, because if you wear the same perfume for a week, you don't smell it at the end of the week themselves. You become used to it. So they've become used to each other and their personal hygiene in the 18th century. But it does work. In cold weather, the multiple layers keep me warm, holds the heat in. So it really is ingenious. Also, we're wearing wool. Why in the world would you wear wool in Florida? Because you don't have to wash it. Wool has lanolin in it, the same thing in ladies' hand cream. It sheds moisture, it sheds dirt, it sheds stains, and it also keeps bacteria from growing. A wool uniform like this, I don't have to wash. All I have to do is hang it up, sun it out, air it out, it's fresh again. That's why for hundreds of years we've always used wool for military uniforms. It wears well, and it keeps well, and you don't have to wash it. Don't want to wash things in the 18th century anyway, because the soaps we're using are lye-based, they're corrosive. So if I wash my shirts too much, it's red and terrible, and I have to hand sew them again. This is a lot of work, but I've done it. Incredible amount of tedious work sewing together a shirt. So you rinse it out and hang it up. You stick the salt out. So you're not bathing a great deal. But bathing also works for us in Florida. The Spanish thought that the natural oils in your skin are good for you, and they are. So by not bathing, and by a couple other things in Spanish culture, one of the things we wondered how they did is how they did with bugs. Especially since the African slave trade brings yellow fever and malaria to the New World. In the summers, you have mosquito-borne diseases. The French, the Dutch, the English dropped by the thousands. Massive epidemics of those diseases, killing off whole populations of cities. The Spanish, 1 or 2 people died. They never have a massive epidemic of a mosquito-borne disease. It really comes down to 2 things. One is, when the Spanish have what they call a mestizo, a mixed blood culture. They send their men over, have them intermarry with the local populations. So you have a mixed Spanish, African, Native American, Indian bloodline all over Latin America. That gives them a genetic disposition against bugs because their skin's thicker and oily. The real key is garlic. The Spanish diet is dramatically different than the Mediterranean from Northern Europeans. They eat tons of garlic. We put a couple of cloves in to flavor something. They put a couple of heads in. Tons of garlic. But that garlic helps them, especially since we don't wash and keep all that oil in our skin. So you can imagine how fragrant these people are. But it keeps the bugs off. It's just like those garlic pills you can give your dogs and cats to keep the fleas and ticks off of them. It works. And that's why the Spanish are able to colonize all over the Caribbean and the bugs don't bother. So at the end of the day, I'm slimy and fragrant, but I'm not bug bit, I'm not sunburnt, and I'm cool. So in their world, it works. I think we'd have a hard time going back with our 21st century noses. It would have been kind of funky. But it gives you a glimpse of the understanding they have of the natural world. They could tell the weather. You red sky in the morning, sailor take the morning, red sky at night, sailor's delight. We all probably heard that. That's only one of 500 different indicators of weather. You can literally watch. Yeah, you can watch clouds. You can watch how ants build an ant nest. The ants know it's going to rain. Yeah, that's thunder and lightning. That means we're going to close the contact unit. Yeah. That's the upstairs. It gives you a glimpse of kind of what it would have been like in 1740. Pretty cool place, really. And that's just the first few hundred years. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that happened here.
Interesting about the windows. So that this is not 2 stories. This is just
it's a single
ceilings
story.
for the hot air to come out.
Exactly. And you'll notice that the casements are arched. They did that in the 1730s because an arch carries more weight than a flat roof. It's a square roof. And they wanted to put more guns upstairs. And so they went in, they rebuilt all these rooms and put arches in, so they put 77 cameras.
Wow.
We've only got 29 right now. And so they needed the extra weight. there's
This
Spanish
thing's over.
naval ships out there supposedly protecting those convoys. What we're trying to do is keep the French and the English out of the water, it's the inland waters, because you need a base to go back to. So it forces them to go up to Georgia and Carolina, which makes it farther for them to come out and hit the Gulf Stream shipping. This is from the Kansas inlet. That's why it's strategic. It goes 15 miles south, and there's another opening to the south. It's a really small point. It's a special type of limestone. It's called tin, which in Spanish literally translates to cutting shell. It's only found in 3 places in the world. What it is it's millions of seashells that have been compressed and cemented together by their own calcium. So it's like nature's here in this barrier island in Australia. It's actually a protected stuff. I know we have protected animals, I know we have, but this stuff is so rare in construction grade quality. It's only one quarry, it's over by Houses. It's King's Quarry stuff. It's regulated by the government. Well, we were just hoping.
Walk around town, but I think we have to ride around town.
these water units available from coming down here too, just as much as they can. Wow. Did you color your hair? Pretty neat.
Anyway, it was nice.
Got here with a kid.